I'm 78 years old, and I need to tell you something that no one ever told me when I was your age. Not my parents, not my teachers, not my friends. And by the time I finally learned it, most of my life was already gone. For most of my years on this earth, I believed being a good woman meant saying yes. Yes to my husband, yes to my children, yes to my parents, my friends, my boss, my neighbors. I thought love looked like sacrifice. I thought strength meant endurance. I thought the more I gave, the more valuable I was. I was wrong about almost everything. I spent nearly 60 years trying to be perfect. The perfect wife, the perfect mother, the dependable daughter, the employee who never complained. And what did that perfection give me? Exhaustion, quiet resentment I never talked about, and a life that never truly felt like it belonged to me. But it took losing everything to finally see it. I got married when I was 22. It was 1968. Different world, different rules. Back then, women weren't encouraged to dream big. We were encouraged to be grateful. My mother told me a good husband was all I needed, and the rest would fall into place. So I married a kind man, a reliable man, and I became what everyone expected. I cooked, I cleaned, I raised children, I supported his career, I smiled at dinners, I stayed quiet when opinions weren't welcome, and the truth is, I wasn't miserable. Not entirely. I loved my children deeply. I enjoyed pieces of my life. But there was always that small voice, buried under responsibility, asking a dangerous question. Is this it? I ignored that voice for decades. When I was 35, I wanted to go back to school. I loved literature. I dreamed of teaching, but we couldn't afford it. I was told the kids needed me. Maybe later. So I waited. When the children grew up, I asked again, but retirement was coming. His parents needed help, maybe in a few years, so I waited again. At 55, I finally thought it was my turn, but our daughter needed help after her divorce. The grandchildren came first, so I waited again. And then one day I was 71 years old, and my husband passed away after 42 years of marriage. And suddenly, there was no one left to wait for. That's when the fear hit. Not just grief, not just loneliness, but the terrifying realization that I had no idea who I was. For 60 years, my identity had been built around other people, someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's helper. When all of that disappeared, there was nothing underneath. I would wake up with nowhere to be, no one to serve, no role to play. And then, about a year and a half later, I found something that shattered me, a letter. He had written it before we married. In it, he talked about my intelligence, my curiosity, the things he believed I would accomplish. I sat on the floor holding that letter and cried, because I realized something painful. The woman he believed in, I had buried her, not suddenly, slowly, year by year. I called it selflessness. But really, I was disappearing. That was the moment everything changed. At 72 years old, I made a decision most people never make. I chose myself. I enrolled in community college, literature, art history, philosophy. I was the oldest person in every room, and I didn't care. For the first time in decades, I felt alive. I started traveling, small trips at first, places I'd dreamed of seeing. I learned how to enjoy my own company. And then came the hardest part. I started saying no. No to obligations I didn't want, no to expectations that drained me, no without explaining myself, and something surprising happened. The world didn't end, people adjusted, and I felt lighter than I ever had. I'm 78 now, and I finally know who I am. Someone's wife, not someone's mother, just me. A woman who loves books and quiet mornings, who travels when she wants, who says no without guilt and yes without fear. But here's the part that still breaks my heart. I lost 60 years. 60 years living the life I was told to live instead of the one I wanted. 60 years shrinking to make room for everyone else. And I will never get that time back. So listen to me carefully. You are not selfish for having dreams. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not selfish for wanting more. The lie we were sold was that self-sacrifice makes you good, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot love fully when you resent yourself. Life will never slow down and give you permission. There will always be another reason to wait, another person who needs you, another obligation. And one day, if you're not careful, you'll wake up old and realize you never lived for yourself. Not once. Your life is not a practice run. This is it. So don't wait. Don't shrink. Don't ask for permission. Because time doesn't wait, and neither should you. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The permission is granted. Now go live.